Hopefully you can all see my screen all right. I'm on the title page or title slide for today's presentation, which is on Canvas, creating and managing discussions. Again, my name is Laura. I'm an instructional designer with Citi, and we'll be together for the next half hour talking about creating discussions and how to utilize them best in your Canvas course. So just as a friendly reminder that we recommend that you do integrate discussions in your online courses. Doing so would help to meet several of the Rush online course design standards, and I just included this screenshot here to show you that. So if you get this down, you'll be able to meet the activities and interaction component of those design standards. So we'll talk about how you could create, we'll walk you through how you could create such activities in your course that would help you to add regular and substantive asynchronous activity in your online or hybrid course. So today's learning objectives, again, we'll explain how discussions function in Canvas. I'll outline the difference between the three main areas of the discussion page, and this will make more sense once we're in there. Those are pin discussions, sort of regular discussions, and closed discussions. We'll create a discussion activity and use the rich content editor to develop a discussion prompt. We'll review discussion options, the various settings included in your discussion assignment, such as threaded discussions and the must post first feature, and discuss when you might want to use such features in your course. I'll show you where you can add a rubric to a discussion and how you might create that. And then we'll add a discussion activity to a module in a course. So, on a high level, we'll just discuss sort of basic discussion activities in your Canvas course and how to use them. So this is just a brief screenshot of a discussion page, which I'm going to go into in just a moment here. So we'll see it in action. But we'll discuss each of these sort of various features and areas of the page, along with what these icons sort of represent as we sort of do a deeper dive into the discussion board and discussion pages. And then we'll also look at going into an individual discussion, how that appears to both you and your students, and what these buttons, are designed to do so that you can, facilitate your discussion or manage your discussion to the best of your ability. So now I'm going to go into my Canvas site. I'm going to go into my Sandbox here. You all see my Sandbox discussions page in Canvas? Let me know if not. Great, thanks, Molly. I've gotten here I'm in my Sandbox. So a Sandbox is essentially just a kind of playground site. You can request to have a Sandbox created where you can play with all of the features in Canvas and get to know how Canvas works. So I'm in my Sandbox, which I've accessed from my global navigation menu here on the left under courses. And then I've clicked here into discussions. I've already added a few discussion samples, but we can go ahead and create another. But this is what you'll see, minus these sample discussions once you get into the discussions page. As you can see, it's divided into 3 different categories or areas of the discussion boards. You have pin discussions, which are essentially discussions that you want to prioritize or put above the others. You have your regular discussion board, which is your list of discussions, I believe in the order in which they are due or assigned. Which is it, Brandon and Lynette, do you recall? and then the closed for comments section. And this is where previous discussions that you have closed will reside. And you can move these around. And this is one beautiful thing about Canvas is they have these drag and drop features, and this was not working for Micah the other day either. But this area here, these little sequence series of dots will enable you to move. Well, I moved it to a pinned discussion. Maybe it's because it's not formally closed. I have to close it before. I thought that would close it. Anyway, you should be able to drag this to close a discussion just by dragging the discussion to that area. But I'll move it back to, or I'll try to move it back to, interesting, okay, to the discussions area. So again, there's 3 different areas where you can store your discussions. Within each of those individual discussions, you'll see different types of icons and notifications. You'll get the availability until date, the due date, and when the last post was made. Here on your right, you'll see in this little green area, how many unread replies you have and how many total replies there are. And then you can see here, if you want to unpublish it, you would just click on this, and then the discussion becomes unavailable to students. Click on it to publish it again. And then here is where you would subscribe to a particular discussion. So you might want to do that. For example, if you have a general kind of Q&A discussion in your course where students post questions about the course, that would be a good discussion forum to subscribe to, because then Canvas is set up to automatically send notifications to your email inbox when someone posts to a forum. So it saves you the step of having to go into your course and check to see if someone's posted to the Q&A. I would recommend not, subscribing to every single discussion forum, because then your inbox is just going to be inundated with notifications. So be strategic about which discussions you subscribe to. And then when you see, as Micah and other instructional designers here at City have communicated, whenever you see these 3 dots, and you're just playing around in your course, we recommend you click on it to see what it does. It will give you various different functionalities pertaining to that activity. So in this case, we might want to unpin this discussion, and that will bring it down to the general discussion area, or go ahead and pin it back, and then maybe drag it up there. We may want to move it. We may want to duplicate it. We may want to send it to someone. This is a nifty feature. If you would like to share an assignment or discussion with, say, a colleague, you can click on Send To and say, I want to send it to Lynette. I could add Send to Lynette, send it, and it will send that discussion add a discussion assignment to her. So if you're wanting to share assignments you've created with your colleagues, maybe other teachers outside of your course, that would be a good way of doing that. And then you could here, copy it. Sharing it to Commons means it shares to sort of a general Canvas sort of resource area where other faculty who use Canvas in and outside of Rush share their courses and course materials. You have the option of doing it there as well. And then if you come up here, you'll see, if you click on this little gear, you can adjust, you have further settings that you can adjust for these discussions. I would recommend not manually marking your post as read, because you don't want to have to go in and click or show a post or reply as read every time you look at it. Keep that as automatic. And then here are your student settings, where you can allow students either to create their own discussion topics, edit or delete their own posts. If you want to restrict them from being able to edit posts after they submit them, you can uncheck that and give them the ability to add files to discussions. The default setting is just to keep all of these on, but you can make adjustments to that as you see fit. So that is your general kind of anatomy of your discussions page. So now we're going to go into a discussion. So I'll click into sample discussion. Actually, why don't we just create one? That's a better way of doing it. So let's add a discussion to our course. So you'll do that here by adding on the add discussion or clicking on the add discussion button. And this is essentially all of your settings pertaining to your discussion. So we'll create one. We'll create a, let's see, discussion workshop. All right, so I created a title and now I want to add my discussion prompt. So what this is above the text box is a rich content editor, allowing you to add any number of features to your discussion prompts or discussion assignment, just as you would add any features to a Canvas page or an assignment. You can do so here. And it's really nifty because you have the ability to add links both inside and outside of your course. You can add images, both inside and uploaded images. And then my favorite feature here is gives you the ability to both upload and record media and add it directly to your discussion prompt. So this would be a good way of adding kind of increasing engagement and interactivity in your course by and let's see. Oh, it's not adding. I wonder why it's not. Oh, because I have it on a different. I wonder why it's not showing my my webcam here. Okay. Either way, though, you do have the ability here to record directly from within the assignment, and you can see here it's recording my voice here. So you might decide to create this prompt as an audio or video recording and have students respond either in written form or in video or audio form to the discussion prompt. So that's a very easy way of doing that without having to go through the rigmarole of recording it elsewhere and then embedding it into the assignment description. You can do it directly from within this rich content editor here in the discussions. You can also insert other types of media. You can add or upload attachments. There's all different things that you can do in this. So let's say, well, right now we'll just write a question. What did you think about the workshop? And then we would add all other kinds of guidelines here. Here's where we could add an attachment if we want them to reference something in the discussion and include it in their post. And then we would go into the options here. So a series of options, I would recommend that you allow for threaded replies. And what that means is that Canvas is essentially going to house any replies for a particular post within that post by indenting them. So you'll have a much easier way of seeing who's replied to what, because then they will be threaded within that and after that original post, as opposed to just having a long sequence of posts and replies with very little understanding of where those replies belong. So I would recommend, almost always using the allow threaded replies option. Users post first before seeing replies. This is a functionality that I use often in my course. It's a way of preventing students from being able to see other students' posts before they post their own. So when they go into the discussion, they have to post their response before seeing everyone else's. And once they do, they'll see all the other previous replies. In my experience, checking this encourages, or making sure that this is checked, encourages originality and prevents that kind of echo chamber effect, which you often see when students are just reading and kind of the first post that's there and kind of writing their response based upon what they've already seen, what other students have said. However, this might not be necessary for depending upon the kind of discussion you have in the course. So it's just an introductory icebreaker discussion where students are introducing themselves, saying something sort of fun about themselves. You may not want to prevent them from seeing other students' posts before they add their own. So it's sort of up to you, and it's up to the kind of discussion that you're creating. Enabling podcast feed. I never really used this before, but it does enable you to sync this with a podcast. And then you can either create a graded or ungraded discussion. Once you click on graded, it will automatically expand this area beneath it where you can assign points, say 10 points, say how you would want those points to be displayed, determine whether or not there's an assignment group that you created that you would like that assignment to be grouped within, require peer reviews, and so on. So I'm going to keep it on graded. And then this allow liking feature is kind of a social sort of element to the discussion, allowing other students or participants to like a post. You might want to do that if you're trying to sort of use, there's various functions you might want to use it for, but it enables students to like and support the posts of their peers. And then you can say only graders can like, so if you want to give a TA the option of being able to like certain posts, you can turn that on as well. So I'm going to turn that off for now and just make this a graded threaded discussion. And with points assigned, and just put it in that general assignment category. Lastly, you'll want to determine to whom you assign it. If it's for everyone in the class, you keep it on everyone, and that's what it defaults to. If you want to assign it to particular sections or groups, you can do so here under assign to. And then you would determine when the due date is. Let's say it is tomorrow at midnight, and it automatically loads it at end of day. And we can make it available from now or from 12 a.m. today to tomorrow at midnight when it's due. And then when you are ready, then you would click on save. Okay, so here's our discussion. We'll see it here also on general discussions. We can pin it if we want to make it an important discussion that is prioritized, or it's something that's occurring this week. We can pin it to the top of this list. And we can see when it's available. And we can see, of course, there's been no posts made to this discussion yet because it's not showing any indication of that here. Once we click into it, we'll see that it's a graded discussion and how many points are possible. We'll see my picture and the person who added it, and then the discussion prompt, which is here very simple. This is where you would subscribe or unsubscribe to a discussion by clicking on this subscribed button. And here above, if you have a lot of students in your class, discussions can of course become really cumbersome. You're scrolling down, numerous posts. If you want to just see posts that you have not seen before, as opposed to having to scroll down through everything you've already read, you can click on unread here. Of course, that won't apply here because there are no posts currently, but you can click on that to view only unread posts. Show deleted replies here. I've not used that button before, but I guess that you may want to. And here's where you would collapse and then expand your replies, right? So if you only want to see just the initial thread and not all the replies, you would collapse here and then expand it to see all threads and replies. And once you're ready for students to see it, we haven't published it yet, so you have to make sure and publish it to your forum. Otherwise, students will not have any access to it whatsoever. So when we're ready to publish it, we would click on this button here and it would turn green and would be available for students to participate in. Lastly, if you're wanting to add a rubric or create a rubric to add to this discussion, if it's graded, then you can do so after you've created the discussion on this page by clicking on Add Rubric. And then you can either find your rubric that you've already created, or you can create a new rubric right in this pop-up box here and determine, how you want that rubric to be used for this assignment. So once we do that, we'll say create test rubric, and I believe there's going to be a workshop that's going to go into grading and rubrics in more detail, so I won't go into that in great detail, but you can, sort of create your criterion here, assign them a total number of points, and then make your settings, and then your rubric will be there. And then once you go into and assess this, that rubric will automatically pull up, allowing you to quick grade or use your speed grader to grade any discussions in that discussion forum. So that's sort of the basic functionality of your discussion board and the discussion forums that you can create there. Molly, do you have any questions, or Brandon or Lynette, was there anything I've missed here that I ought to discuss?
I did have a question. Can you schedule the publication date? I saw that you were able to go in and say publish, but can you schedule that out?
Yes, and you should be able to do that here under your available from. So it will make the discussion available at whatever day and time you choose. So for example, if it's not available till tomorrow at 12, and let's see, it is published, but if we go to student view, this should not allow students to add to it until it is opened. So it doesn't look like the prompt is available either. Brandon or Lynette, do you happen to know if they can view the prompt before the discussion becomes available? Or is that restricted also until?
I think the prompt is hidden with the, is not available with the discussion, until the discussion is available.
Okay. All right, so they'll still see it here and they'll see when it opens, Molly, and when it's due. They just won't be able to, I guess, view the prompt or add anything to it or post a response to it until midnight tonight.
I think you could put the prompt in the description.
Okay.
So usually what I do, I copy and paste my prompt in the description and in the actual posting.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I guess you could play with that to see, as Brandon said, in order to make it visible, or else you could also put a description elsewhere in the course, maybe in the module. And that reminds me, it is, oh my gosh, it is 1:30 already. So Molly, did I answer your question?
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go ahead and I'll show you how you can add a module. Add a discussion to a module. And so now I just clicked into the modules page. I already have a bunch of test assignments here, but we can add the discussion that I just created to this module by clicking on the add button here. And then clicking up here on the assignment type, the drop down, and then clicking on discussion. And then clicking on the one we just made. Now we can decide, and Brandon, I know you went over this in your modules and pages workshops, whether we want to indent that to make it a part of, you know, a sort of subset of another assignment. But I'll just keep it unindented for now, and then just add item, and it will automatically add your discussion to that module, and then you can drag it to whatever order you want it to show within your module. There, right there. You can also then make edits directly in there, and then as we discussed in other workshops, once you created that discussion, it's going to sync. And sorry, I already added a sample kind of draft of a syllabus here. It's going to sync it to the course summary here in your syllabus, on your syllabus page, and also to your course calendar. And then when you make any edits or updates to that assignment, discussion, or otherwise, it will also automatically update it in the summary and the course calendar. All right, so Molly, do you have any questions, any more questions at all about how discussions function? I think I have covered everything that I wanted to cover for this workshop in terms of the basic functionality of discussion boards.
Could you just say again what the difference is between a pinned, the three types, and when you would use each type?
Yes, great question. So I would use pinned discussions when you maybe want to draw students' attention to a discussion happening that week, or a discussion on which you want them to focus, or that you want to highlight. It will always remain there. If it's pinned, it will not be removed from the pinned section unless you remove it. As opposed to, say, discussions, the general discussions, I believe those sort of are automatically grouped in order in which they are either become available or they're due. I forget which. You can't then prioritize one over the other depending on the dates of availability. A pinned discussion, you can always put at the top of that list. Did I cover that, Brandon, Lynette? Or is there something I'm missing there in terms of those three categories?
Oh, that sounds fine to me.
Okay. And then if you want to close something, you can just drag it down. It's just a shortcut way of closing a discussion, as opposed to going in and editing those settings by making it unavailable or due. Did I answer your question, Molly?
Yep, that helps. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So I think it's sort of up to the faculty's discretion as to how they want to use the sort of those three areas. I may also pin a discussion that is something that would remain available throughout the semester, like a Q&A forum or something, so that students would see that first when they clicked into the discussion page.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. So again, key takeaways. Again, use discussion forums in your online course to meet Rush standards and increase engagement and interactivity. And Canvas comes with a lot of built-in tools that makes it much easier to add engagement by adding multimedia, among other things. Discussions, once you import your course, which we didn't talk about at all, but discussions should move over well from Blackboard to Canvas if you already have them set up in your Blackboard course. They also set up as discussion forums in your Canvas course. You'll just have to make any adjustments to dates and more if you have other settings you want to adjust. Discussion forums can be graded, ungraded, and they can be assigned to all students, or they can be assigned to designated groups or sections. Again, as I mentioned, you can easily add multimedia to prompts and replies, and discussion forums work best when they're threaded and there are options for sort of viewing and responding efficiently. Remember, after you create a discussion, you'll always want to publish it when you're ready for students to view it so that they can see it and participate. And then in terms of grading, you can do that most efficiently by adding a rubric, which students will also see, so they'll know how they'll be evaluated. And then also using the Canvas Speed Grader, which I believe will be discussed more at length in next week's workshops and boot camp. So you'll get into the nitty gritty of grading at that point. But that's pretty much the highlights of what I wanted to talk about. And of course, you can reach out to me or or Brandon or Lynette or any of the rest of the team should you have questions or want help with this or other types of tools in Canvas. So thank you so much for showing up, Molly. I'm happy to stick around if you have any additional questions, but hopefully that helped to clarify that functionality for you.
That was great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.